Love them or hate them, as long as a fandom is obsessed with the series, theories will always inevitably arise. There's a ton of theories for the series community, like the identity of the is Rich a serial killer, and they were really in the Greendale insane asylum the entire time.
It's not possible.
But today I wanted to look at some lesser known fan theories from the community. So let's go.
Yeah, bet!
First one I wanted to talk about, because it's the most broad and simple theory on the list, is the mystery of the 8th chair. The series focuses on a study group made up of 7 people. They sit 2 by 2 from the very first episode. Annie and Shirley, Pierce and Troy, Abed and Britta, and Jeff and, well, an empty chair. In a series with a crazy amount of minor background details, this one is right up in our face the entire time. Why did the creators put our group at a space for 8 if there's only 7 of them? Who's the 8th chair for? Well, the fans have a theory for this. The 8th chair is for you, and for me. It's a way for the creators to say, hey, there's a seat at the table for you. A way to put you directly into the community. And these types of tricks do work. Marketing people get this. Think of all the dinner commercials you've ever seen. They often have a spot left at the table for you. Almost to say, hey, these people have it pretty good. So can you. And that's what this fan theory suggests, that we, the audience members, get a seat at the table. We get to project ourselves into the show and become part of the group. And it's just one of the ways the creators of the show reinforce the idea that we all belong in a community. Now, this isn't a traditional fan theory, more of a meta theory on why Dan Harmon made the show the way he did.
Sorry, what's our formula?
Well, basically.
But speaking of the creator, there is a string of theories revolving around the character of Abed Nadir. In a cast of extremely dynamic characters, Abed reigns as one of the most endearing.
Aww.
His complex mixture of intelligence and social miscues, along with his encyclopedia-like knowledge of all things pop culture, this walking IMDb is a perfect primer for all things fan theories. First up is the idea that Abed is the only one in the study group who knows that they're being filmed for a television show. Support for this theory comes from comments like this.
Are we all in the movie right now?
We are all in a movie, even when there are no cameras.
From the first episode, he consistently calls out how someone's behavior or their situation is a trope in TV or film.
Well, that actually was from The Breakfast Club.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
And while his comments consistently break the fourth wall if you think about them deep enough, he actively pauses to look directly at the camera at least once a season.
If not, it'll be because an asteroid has destroyed all human civilization. And that's canon.
There's no reason given on how Abed is aware, but it does remind me of the comic series in which Deadpool becomes aware that he is a character inside of Marvel Comics, and then he does what Deadpool does. Clearly that didn't happen with Community, but if this fan theory is to be believed, that they're all being set up and filmed beyond any of their knowledge or will, it's kind of amazing that Abed's path forward on this whole thing is just to play the part, rather than, rage against the machine.
Raging against the what? That sounds dangerous.
Branching from that idea is another fan theory that the entire series is a film project of Abed's. We get to see a few of Abed's originals throughout the series. But the idea here is that the entire series of Community was created by Abed, which, if you recall, the very first piece of dialogue we get in Community, episode 1, season 1, we have Abed, with really no context at all.
Abed, nice to know you and then meet you in that order.
Just a guy who walked up to another guy and randomly started expositing. Abed is the reason the study group comes together.
Where's Britta?
Not sure, but I invited more people from Spanish class. Is that cool?
That's the coolest.
As I said before, Abed calls the tropes out in their situations regularly.
Abusively cynical one-liner dismissing everything you just said.
Absurd reaction. You guys, can we put a pin in the B story and focus on the A story?
And he quite often comes out as the moral hero of the story.
Let's face it, I'm pretty adorable.
So this would mean that everyone involved in the show are just actors, similar to real life. But in this case, Abed is creating the show in the Community universe. Anyway, you get it. The next theory is a branch from that one again, and it's that Abed is Truman showing Jeff. I'm not sure Truman showing is a verb, but we're going to make it one here today. Truman Show is a very meta film starring Jim Carrey and revolves around Carrey's character not knowing that he's in a reality TV show. Every facet of Truman's life, from birth until current day, is on display for the world to see. And the fan theory here is that Jeff Winger is the main character of Abed's show Community, in which he's Truman showing Jeff. This would make Annie, Britta, Shirley, Troy, the dean, and everyone else in the school a paid actor who's in on it. Reasons Abed is doing this might be to test the limits of filmmaking and or the psychological limits of situational comedy on a real person. While Jeff is always quick to tell Abed that life isn't television, this theory posits that that's exactly what it is. One supporting clip for this is that Jeff often comments that his life used to be normal before Greendale. So pulling it all together, the creator, Abed, is constantly testing what Jeff, a semi-normal human being, will believe.
Oh my God, you've been hit.
What? Oh no. Wait. It's blood.
And how that subject might evolve as craziness is introduced consistently but exponentially through his life.
Looking back on those dark days, it's clear that the only heroes were the janitors and the custodians left to clean up our messes.
And Abed gets to observe how those situations have a direct impact on Jeff's behavior in the future. But moving from fan theories on Abed, let's look at a couple on Jeff. First, there is a fan theory that Jeff and Chang are actually the same person, or at least bizarro versions of the same character.
Pause for dramatic effect.
Inarguably, Jeff and Chang share some striking similarities. The narcissism, their ability to rally up troops, their ability to plan, their ability to manipulate, the fraudulent credentials leading to jobs that they weren't quite qualified for, only to be found out, thus creating a spiraling effect, only to become infatuated with Annie's boobs for a little while. And while they probably aren't the same person, it is interesting to think about what the writers may have been doing there. On that same topic, there is a theory that Jeff and Leonard are the same person.
I told you you'd be back.
Shut up, Leonard. I'm not here. I'm just a figment of your creeping dementia.
This theory has maybe less legs to stand on, but it goes that sometime in the very distant future, Abed sends Leonard, Jeff, back in time to mess with the timeline here and there.
Shut up, Leonard. You smell like mentholyptus. What are you even doing here?
Which sounds crazy, but thinking back to season 1, there's a whole bit with macaroni.
Hey guys, thanks for eating all the macaroni.
Shut up, Leonard. Nobody even knows what you're talking about.
Leonard somehow knows that it's Jeff, and it's never explained.
I did eat all the macaroni. It's messed up that he knows.
Unless the only thing Leonard had to do to know that it was Jeff was just remember that it was in fact himself who ate the macaroni. There's also a psychological aspect to this too, knowing that Jeff is a narcissist who pretty much hates himself, which might play into why Jeff takes such pot shots at Leonard at every chance he gets.
Shut up, Leonard. Nice earring. You look like the road manager for the California Raisins.
Shut up, Leonard. Those teenage girls you play ping pong with are doing it ironically.
Shut up, Leonard. I heard about your prescription socks.
Touche.
A subliminal hatred of himself projected onto another human being for reasons he doesn't quite understand himself. Now, the theory doesn't explain why Leonard Jeff is sent back into time, but maybe it's just Jeff wanted to relive some of those good old days.
Leonard! We just looked at your transcript.
I knew this day would come.
Or maybe this prevented some sort of darkest timeline effect. And speaking of timelines,
You're talking about it.
there is a theory that the entire 4th season of Community had purposefully a very different vibe due to it being a portrayal of one of the darker timelines. I think we can all unanimously agree that this is just series fans justifying the dip in quality after Harmon's departure from Community.
Well, there was that gas leak last year.
Oh, don't blame it all on the gas leak year.
But the idea here is that the timeline that we follow in season 4 is one in which Pierce went to go get the pizza. Several plot lines are set up, and throughout the next season we see Jeff and Annie get closer, as well as Troy and Britta. So is it possible that season 4 is really just another timeline adjacent to the Prime timeline, and the Nexus event at the end of season 4 corrects the timelines, putting the TVA back in control of the series and getting things back on track for a bit? But speaking of the TVA and the multiverse, one of my favorite fan theories is that the entire series of Community is one of the MCU's multiversal timelines. It says a lot more weight to it than I originally gave, so stick with me. So first we have the Community characters popping up all over the MCU main timeline. Shirley's back in the 70s during Endgame, knowing that something's not quite right in the elevator. Security guard Chang is security guarding, amongst other things, the van that Ant-Man pops out of during the beginning of Endgame. Abed shows up in Captain America, Winter Soldier as a communications technician. The Dean shows up at MIT working some sort of gig as an event coordinator. Troy seems to be going through some hard times in this universe, but his nephew may be Miles Morales, so we'll give him the pass. Jeff Winger shows up in Spider-Man 2, which is now acknowledged as one of the MCU multiverses. Captain Marvel shows up in Community, as does one of the Eternals. There's even this quick joke in which Duncan accidentally triggers a missile launch.
No, cancel it. Wait, who are you?
Could it be that Greendale Community College was built on an old Hydra base? And the rules of Community have always played by the MCU playbook. Pocket dimensions, chaos theory, timelines, and maybe magic?
On your left.
Can we stop walking in slow-mo now?
20 more yards. You guys are walking in slow-mo?
Avengers!
Assemble.
Can't hear you over the sound of me rubbing his sword on my balls.
You're 6.
I took evasive maneuvers. You can't be on my 6.
Then I'm on your 12.
That means I'm on your 6.
Good.
Again, who knows if any of these are true? They're probably not, but they're so much fun to talk about.
My bullcrap meter's going crazy.
Do you have any Community fan theories you'd like to share? Write them in the comments and maybe I'll make a video about it and give you credit for that. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Subscribe if you liked this. I've got several more theories video coming down the pipeline. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.